Hello everybody, my name is Mr. Maple, or a extended piece of the Format Library Cinematic Universe, and today I wanted to show you a couple replays of me playing with this deck here. This is part of the wind-up format that uses the September 2012 ban list. The particular form of wind-up format, as there are a couple, uses the one before the release of Abyss Rising in November, specifically YCS Providence in late October, where the latest legal set is the Atlantean structure. This particular deck is not one of my own creation, but is actually a top 8 list from that YCS Providence event, piloted by Daniel Vrabel. And the thing about the deck is that it bears a decent resemblance to Tengu Plant Agents, but with a couple notable differences. The semi-limited tour guide and Agent of Mystery Earth, but more to the point, between the Tengu deck I normally use, it's a lot more trap heavy, because this one you can run a couple other cards, but one trap does shoot, it's fine, and the 3 Earth, 3 tour guide is just a ban list thing. But the main thing that separates the two is Herald of Orange Light. You play a whole bunch of fairies, and the main payoff is being able to summon your powerful bosses like Hyperion and Christia with the 3 copies of Call of the Haunted, which you don't have 3 in Tengu. This deck isn't playing any calls, but if it were playing the maximum amount of copies, it would be playing 2. I played a couple matches of this deck against somebody in the Format Library server just to get a feel for the deck, because I do like playing Tengu Agents, where I was playing this deck, of course, and he was playing Inzektor, and I would like to show you those replays and talk through a bit and maybe gush a bit about a format I've come to like. So here we are at rock, paper, scissors of the first match. Grapha, don't think anything of this. I just want to talk about the replays. I apologize in advance for any potential sacks. So we win RPS and we go first. And let's do the draw. This hand is pretty good, honestly. Another thing that you can do with Tour Guide is that in Tengu Plant, the main thing that Tour Guide did was summon Leviathan Dragon, which you detach to get a Dark Engrave for Chaos. And while you can still summon Leviathan Dragon, although the replay does not let you see your own extra deck, I am playing it, as you saw in the deck profile. You can make a couple other things. So what I choose to do here is Tour Guide, has no Veiler or Maxi. Make the Zen Mains, which is another new card in Wind Up, and set the MST in Pass. So dualities for a Hopper, Centipede, Armageddon Knight, and chooses Armageddon Knight. Nice to see what you're playing up against that early. Goes 1 for 1 with the back row, and I don't actually have a Herald here, but I think there's another point later on where I could have heralded the Armageddon Knight. So here he just sets a couple cards. He's playing Threatening Roars, because another thing that's different about Inzektor from the previous format is that Hornet and Dragonfly are both limited, so he really needs to sort of protect the board for a bit until he can draw into the combo and start popping my stuff. Going 1 for 1 here, I decide to beat into the Armageddon Knight, and then he fiendishes the Zen Mains, which is a little concerning because I think he might have something and start going off, because the Zen Mains doesn't negate or prevent the combo from going off, but it does stay on field and force him to use multiple ways of taking care of it. But thankfully he summons the card, and that just gets torrential. This, I think I just make a BLS and start going. Oh. Maybe I should have waited. And from here on, it's just beating in. So game 2, he decides to go first, of course, to try to get the combo going. Or at least get the piece of the combo, since Inzektor can't really do the combo as much going first. However, another important thing to note is that Hopper can use its effect on the first turn, because Hopper does allow you to detach to, I believe, let a monster attack twice, and it was ruled either at Providence or the event before that you could use it turn 1, and a server regular was complaining that this format had that ruling as a byproduct of the server choosing the format without mermails, because you could play this up to Cosmo Blazer if you were so inclined. So I've got nothing for the card car. I misclick. Doing the dust like that probably wasn't that great. I think my concern was if he had back row removal, that he'd use it on the Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, but dusting there just... I feel it says, it just practically screams into his ear that I have something that he ought to use his Dust Tornado or MST on. But he didn't, so now he plays under Shadow Imp, which is a hate card that in this match and the second one I play, I think I remarked that the guy who built the deck must have been scared of Inzektor, but I think more to the point he was also scared of Dark World, because that certainly was a known commodity at the time. So here he maxes me, but another thing that this deck has over the Tengu list is a greater amount of rank 2s, because in Tengu all you do is make Gachi Gachi. But here you're allowed to play a couple other things. Namely, Daigusto Phoenix. And again, possibly popping the back row isn't the best idea, because I believe this is a format where a lot of people, or at least a decent amount of people, could be playing Gores. And if you look in Grave, I don't really have a decent out to a Gores. However, I think I have the... I think given the circumstances, just attacking in with the Phoenix and then attacking in with the Venus, he has to drop Gores on the Venus attack. Because otherwise, he loses, because Hyperion is lethal. So I just Hyperion attack the Gores, and then I just contend with the token, because I have Dark Hole Solemn BLS. Although I need a Dark Engrave. So it was just a concern I had like, in the moment, thinking, oh man, what if he has a Gores? But in retrospect, it wasn't that bad. So he doesn't have any Gores or a Trag to stop it. But he does agree to a second match. And he does win rock, paper, scissors this time. We only have Summon Troopers our first play, but another thing that you get to see this match is the power of Herald of Orange Light. Yeah, this is the point where I ought to have activated the Herald, maybe, because I don't really want to let him get his Dragonflies or Hornets in Grave, because then he can start going off. Graf had told me at the end of this match that in his experience, this is probably Inzektor favored, but I didn't really get to see the intricacies of the matchup that make that so, because it seems that if Agent doesn't have an OTK hand, it has to play more mid-range style, then I think I'd see where you'd be coming from in saying that Inzektor's favored in this matchup. But if you have the ability to kill, then you just run clear over them. So he Dragonflies, I Torrential, and I get a +1. And this hand is disgusting. This hand is completely revolting. So we pitch Hyperion Herald. I thought about Christia, but I didn't want to crash a Dad and Christia. I wanted to save the Christia, because I don't have the material in Grave to summon it the normal way. Sorry about that, mild interruption. The reason I didn't want to make the Christia is because the only way I have to fill the Grave with other fairies, or at least the amount of fairies that I would need in that instance would be to make sure that I don't draw the Christia dead if this card here is a way to out it. I think would be, see, Pitch, Herald, Christia, Reborn Christia, you have 2 fairies. So I'd have to, before then, summon Venus. And there's just too many avenues where he can just make sure that this Christia remains dead, so I wanted to get the Hyperion because I do have the material to take care of this dad. Although, perhaps I should have considered the possibility that the back row was real. Oh. Oh right, I hadn't used the normal yet, so I banished. Alright, I also neglected to mention that I could not have made Dark Mist at all because I had the Shine Ball engrave, and Dark Mist requires 3 level 2s. Which was something I actually went over in my head while I was trying to figure out a way to find lethal. So I do have the Herald, but no fairies to negate the Armageddon Knight. This plays massively into Heavy Storm, which is a card that is ubiquitous in this format, and not only because Heavy Storm's a good card, but because the best deck uses Black Whirlwind, but better. So I'm not sure what exactly I'd be bluffing. I think this is just playing poorly and not getting punished for it. Foolishness for the Dragonfly. This is largely simplifying the game state. Again, this is unfortunate. So, Christie goes back to the top of my deck, and I don't really have a great way of getting a bunch of fairies in. Earth is one, and Venus plus the Shine Balls I get are going to be others. So I pay for the Shine Balls, I actually go into Gotchi. So it goes into the Zen mains, and here I actually have a line to Christia. So I use the Darkhold to get rid of the Venus and one of the Shine Ball. That's one of the Shine Balls underneath the Gotchi. And then make the Christia, get back the Herald. This deck is, again, this deck is disgusting. Just summons card to get more material. Flip Gotchi vertical. And he's got one turn to find an out for this. He doesn't MST the Shad Imp, I guess, because he probably doesn't think it matters, and if I have another normal summon, he loses. So we go in with the Honest, and bring in the gut, and bring in the rest. I was honestly really impressed with how the deck turned out, because a problem that I had with Tengu Agent is that you tend to brick on the monsters a lot, which might just be a deck building issue because you're playing 30 of the things. But even in the one hand where I had, the Herald and the other 6 monsters, I didn't feel like that was bad. I just felt like as soon as you activate a monster, you're going to die. So that was wind-up format. I might do this in the future for this format and others, because I do play a decent amount of formats, and feel free to stick around if that's something that you think interests you. Again, I've been Maple, and I'll see you around.